Let's join Henry Winter. Morning, Henry.
Good morning, Henry.
Morning, Jeff. Morning, Ali. What a mad weekend.
It has
incredible.
been a crazy weekend. Look, I mean, that Manchester derby wasn't great, was it? But step in the right direction as far as Manchester United are concerned. But what do you make of City and Pep, Henry? I mean, he looked haunted, beaten to me, by the end.
It's almost painful to see someone like that. Someone who's actually contributed so much. I mean, in any sort of walk of life, you don't want to see anyone who is clearly suffering, and it's almost physically manifesting itself with Pep. I mean, he just looks. He says he's not eating, he's not sleeping. I mean, the League Managers Association, as you know, the LMA, they do so much work just on the sort of, the psychological and the physical health of managers, and of course they're well paid, and of course they do a magnificent job, which most people in the country would absolutely love to do. But there are stresses and strains, and we've seen it with other managers, particularly on the eve of Christmas. It can't be particularly nice for their families. But I am surprised that Pep is doing all this sort of mea culpa and say everything is down to me. And I understand the best managers, Sir Alex Ferguson, would do that. In times of defeat, he would walk into a press conference and it would be a bravura performance, and he would say it was the referee, it was yous in the media, it was the weather, it was the strip, it was anything but his players in his dressing room, and that was absolutely brilliant. He was a lightning rod for any criticism. But with Pep, it's almost like a sort of message that he's sending out when you look at him almost so sort of frail and vulnerable, and the players must be looking at that and seeing this great invincible leader, this great sort of tactical visionary who did amazing things at one of the greatest Barcelona, one of the world teams of all time, 4 wins on the spin, is suddenly looking vulnerable. And what does that then say to them?
It's amazing, Henry. I mean, you're saying suddenly looking vulnerable. I've been trying to think last night and this morning of a decline like it, and I can't think of a decline like it in terms of a club at the top having so much success, effectively having a decline of this magnitude. To lose 8 and win 1 in 11 is just absolutely incredible. We've all seen clubs go through spells, particularly great clubs, whether it be Liverpool, whether it be Manchester United, where they'll go through maybe a 3-4 game, maybe a 5 game period, Henry, right? But this is just incredible, isn't it?
Well, Ali, I'm not quite old enough to go back to the Roman Empire, but I mean there are sort of echoes there with the sort of the collapse there. Look, a lot of it is rooted in Rodri not being around, because he's an organizer. He's a calming presence. He's the best footballer in the world. He's a ball winner and a ball user. But as some of your punters were saying to the Moose earlier, it is an aging squad. There are mistakes. You look at Nunez's mistake, Ederson's mistake. Ederson's one of the best 3 goalkeepers in the world, and he's not been impressive this season. So, a load of issues. They haven't got enough pace in central midfield. Gundogan coming back was almost like it hasn't really worked.
No.
He's not the player he was. So, look, they've got issues there. But in terms of as crises go, they're not short of a bob or two. They've got a great stadium, an unbelievable training ground. They've got some good kids coming through. Maybe they might have to think of, well, why don't we hold on to a Palmer or a Delap and actually sort of refresh through our own ranks as well as reaching for the checkbook.
I can't remember a weekend, Henry, when Liverpool, Arsenal and Man City, none of them have won. And of course, Chelsea took advantage, only just, admittedly. Of course they're in the title race. Can they win it? I mean, I've looked at the next half a dozen fixtures. They've got Everton away, Fulham at home, Ipswich away, Palace away, Bournemouth at home, Wolves at home. What an opportunity.
I love the way Maresca keeps playing it down. I was at Stamford Bridge up in the talkSPORT gantry, and Jason Cundy came over at half time, and I said, "You are in the title race," and he said, "No." It's like anyone with a sort of with blue specs on is playing it down, and that is good. They probably are ahead of schedule. At the start of the season, no one was really predicting Chelsea were going to be in the title race, but look at the impact Maresca's done. They look a real team. You see the fighters they've got in the team. Cucurella is probably one of the most annoying players in the history of the Premier League, but what a fighter he is. He was competing with Mbeumo, who's a much stronger individual player than him, and he was challenging him for the ball. You've got Enzo Fernandez, who's a World Cup winner, Moises Caicedo, as these players should be for 100 million quid plus, certainly the latter two. But you look at the impact. I mean, Ali, you were a striker, you would have worked with Walter and all these sort of great coaches. You look at how Maresca has actually improved Nicholas Jackson, who's still young, and he is developing. And you look at that finish, okay, everyone's focusing on the miss, but also he took he took his chance well. So, look, they look a real team there. Absolutely, they're in the title race.
A couple of managers lost their jobs, Henry. It's a sad old situation, but we're not really surprised nowadays, are we?
No, you could argue that they could have gone before. I mean, different circumstances. Gary O'Neill, he sold 180 million pounds worth of talent, and if you don't replace quality with quality, you are going to struggle. He lost Kilman, he lost Neto, he's lost players like that. Look, there were issues. You look at their set piece defending. A lot of that comes down to the manager as well as the individual mistakes. Russell Martin, I don't have so much sympathy for, because everyone, Southampton fans were saying it. You guys were saying it. You can't keep on playing out from the back with Championship players. You're going to get caught out in the Premier League because strikers just press so quickly, and you're going to walk into ambushes. The best managers adapt, and Russell Martin did. But look, he'll be back because there's a good manager there, but he might just have to rethink.
Very, very briefly, Henry, I just want to mention one team, because to me there's nobody got more team spirit this season than Nottingham Forest. Top 4.
Brilliant.
And it's no fluke, is it?
What a good manager in Nuno. And when he walked out of Tottenham Hotspur, he was being absolutely dismissed. But if you know the nature of the man, he sets the tone. The players like him individually as well as a manager. Fantastic. And a nod to Ryan Yates, who's in the middle of there, doesn't get much praise, but he sets the tone with his commitment and the pride in which he wears that famous shirt.
Yeah, I tell you, just briefly, I heard an after-match interview with Anthony Elanga on Saturday evening. What an eloquent, pleasant young man he sounds. It was absolutely brilliant. Henry, thank you very much indeed.
Have a good day, Henry.
Pleasure. Good week, guys.
You too.
talkSPORT Breakfast, waking you up Monday to Friday morning from 6 a.m. on AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.